Today on our show, the first show of 2021, and I promise you guys we're going to be far more regular because hopefully, if the world didn't end in 2020, it's not ending in 2021, so we're going to be more regular. This is our first show of 2021, man, and we've got the first of a two-parter of the Nerdy-NomNoms. This is the positive side, man, the happy side, and that's going to happen to your ear holes now on the Nerdynomicon. Welcome to the Nerdynomicon. I'm Robbie. Adrian is not going to be with us today for a variety of reasons. Mostly because he's off doing Adrian things in beautiful sunny California, where the pandemic is still sweeping through, killing people like every 15 minutes. It's depressing. It's horrible. And that's why Adrian is going to be on part 2. This year we're going to do a two-parter, okay, for the Nerdy-NomNoms. Today we're going to do the top shows and movies, and next, or later on this week, frankly, we're going to be doing the worst of 2020 because it was a shit stain, okay? And hopefully we're seeing the death rattle of 2020 right now. As we're recording this, yesterday, right-wing militiamen, Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, and MAGA Americans stormed the United States Capitol building and occupied it for the first time in over 200 years. So it's weird, ironic, but yet slightly appropriate that my guest today was on the side that over 200 years ago stormed and occupied our fucking Capitol building. All the way from England, I'm inviting the Bladedrummer back. Andrew, the Bladedrummer, how you doing, buddy?
Hey man, I'm not too bad. Yourself?
I'm doing. We're 7 days into 2021, and I try so hard to be on the positive side of things. You know, I don't like to curse the darkness. I like to light a candle. And that's what the Nom-Noms are going to be about. We're going to be talking about the best of.
Yeah.
But we're 7 days into 2021. And I really hoped that everything here was just the final hurrah for all of the horror and the depressing shit and the fucking sulfurous, nasty, disgusting, putrid stench of 2020. But I'm so terrified that it's just the beginning. I really am.
I mean, I'd like to have hope. I'd like to be optimistic and say that I give it maybe half a year and then we'll start going back to some kind of normality. I mean, especially over here anyway, where like we've gone into kind of a full national lockdown again, which we were out of for a bit. But
this is your third or second?
Yeah, third one now. Yeah,
third one. Jesus.
And obviously there's not been a huge difference between the national lockdown and the tier system that we've been put in. The only real difference is that our schools have all been closed. Gotcha. So yeah, it's interesting, and everyone just basically the core simple rules, because people can't follow them properly, are the virus moves with people. If people stop moving, the virus stops moving, and then it dies. It's as simple as that. But
yes, it really is as simple as that.
But people don't know that, apparently. So,
dude, there's been a resurge of people that believe that the Earth is flat. Okay,
don't get me started with that.
There's dinosaur truthers that are like, I've seen the evidence, I've seen the science, and I believe that the dinosaur bones were put there by the deep state and the government and blah 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 blah. And there's lizard people, conspiracy theories that are now Main Street. I don't understand what's happening. I really don't.
It's the world, man. Like you just gotta take it on its stride and just kind of like these people just believe what they want to believe and just kind of just let them get on with it as long as it's not hurting anyone. Just like, yes, that is stupid as hell, but you get on with it as long as you don't hurt anyone because of your beliefs. That's fine. Just get on with it, and let them get on with their mad little world.
But that's the problem, is these people are hurting people now.
Well, some of them are anyway.
We have fucking extremists that just stormed the Capitol.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's... Well, that's mainly because of their belief in Trump, I'd say, but hey.
It's the cult of QAnon. As I was listening to live footage, I could hear the phrase "where we go, we go all" being chanted in the halls. That is from the cult of QAnon.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. But we're not going to talk politics. We're not going to do that. We're going to light a candle today, and we're going to talk about the good shit that 2020 gave us.
Yeah, we're here for the good stuff.
Absolutely. We're here for that good stuff, that reach around, that rubbing on our nipples, man. That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to talk about. So, both you and I are connoisseurs, I would like to put it, of pop culture. Mm-hmm. We love video games. We love TV shows. We love films. We both agree and have discussed with each other the cultural impact that films, television, and even video games can have. 2020 was a weird fucking animal because so much was canceled. A lot of shows couldn't come out. A lot of seasons couldn't continue on because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Because of coronavirus. Lots of movies ended up having to get pushed. Like, I can guarantee you that there are films that are in the can right now that I would put on this list that I can't because they've moved the release dates into 2021. Mm-hmm. So what we have now, and it's still a good pool. It's still a good pool, but we're going to be pulling from what we've seen in 2020, and we're going to give you guys our opinions of the best of, and we're going to tell you why. So what do you say? You want to start out with movies or TV shows?
Let's go for TV shows.
All right, let's do it. Andrew, you are the guest. I'm going to let you go first. This is top 3 in no particular order, just the 3 best of the TV shows. Let's go for your first pick here.
Okay, my first pick is probably going to be an obvious one to a lot of people, but it's The Mandalorian.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. All right, let's talk a little bit more in depth on this one because this is where we're going to have some crossover. Yeah, that one is definitely on my list as well. I'll let you go for it.
Oh, okay. I have done a review about this, but feel free to check it out if you wish.
Plug your shit, man, and we're also gonna plug it at the end in a more official capacity. But if you want to hear them, if you guys want to hear Andrew talk about The Mandalorian in a little bit more depth, where can they find that?
That's literally just type in Bladedrummer. I mean, you don't even really need the link actually to find me easily because I'm literally the only person on YouTube called Bladedrummer. So you just type it in, and I'm the first sort of person you'll see on there. So, yeah, you find.
But if you're lazy and need a link, it's going to be in the show notes here.
Yeah, if you're lazy,
God knows I'm lazy and need a link sometimes. All right, sometimes I'm driving, and I got to hit that shit at the right time at the stoplight. So, anyway, go ahead. Let's talk about The Mandalorian, man, because this show, season 2, incredible television.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, are we diving into spoilers here?
Yeah, this is going to be full spoilers. We're going to give that plug a little bit here. If you don't want to hear the spoilers from The Mandalorian, click ahead like probably about 5-10 minutes. We should be done talking about it. But yeah, we're going to tackle spoilers in this episode, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this, like, don't get me wrong, like, I loved season 1, and I was very excited to see what season 2 would bring. And then obviously after the first couple of episodes, I was thinking, okay, this feels like kind of like filler, but also very good filler. Like it's still fleshed out the story a bit more, but a good majority of it still felt like filler. Aside from maybe the first episode, obviously when you see Boba Fett at the end, which was like, oh, so good.
Yep.
But then it kind of, as it goes on, it just the fan service as well is unreal. Like it's decent fan service because unlike Rise of Skywalker, it's earned fan service that it's not just, it's tactfully put in. Whereas Rise of Skywalker is just like, oh, here you go, fan service. Yes, but that you're trying to put in the fan service to disguise what a shit film it is. And
yeah, I would say I think the term you're looking for is organic. It's organic fan service and not ham-fisted fan service. You know, The Mandalorian, it had cameos and it had callbacks and references and appearances of so much shit that we as Star Wars fans love and things that we wanted. Whereas Rise of Skywalker, which we haven't talked about on this channel, and there is a reason why. Rise of Skywalker just decided to throw things in because, hey, why not? It's the last film of the Skywalker saga, and it was shit. It was shit. It was terrible.
It really was.
Oh my god. And this is coming from a huge Star Wars fan. It was god-awful. The Mandalorian, Season 1, I agree with you. There was a lot of filler. But you know what it felt like to me? The best Season 2 of Firefly we're ever going to get.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like. It felt like a space western. And I'm down with that, you know?
100%. I mean, yeah, unfortunately there will be no new season of Firefly, unless randomly it comes just out of the blue somehow, but I really doubt it.
Disney has been talking about rebooting it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But will it be as good? That's the question.
Doubtful. The rumors that I've heard circulating, and again, these are rumors. This is nothing that I know for certain, but the rumors circulating is they were going to make it far more fan-friendly, and they were going to completely reboot it, which probably means that we're going to be losing characters like Anara, which is, I mean, she's essentially a geisha, you know? So if they're going to go far more family-friendly, I don't see how they're going to do that type of character. But
we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. We don't even know if it's actually going to happen.
No.
I've only heard that there's rumors. So.
But
Season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Sorry, Season 2 of The Mandalorian, yeah. Season 2 of The Mandalorian, it proved to be one of the most sort of ambitious seasons of television in probably recent memory, I would say.
Yeah.
It impressively advances the ongoing story of The Mandalorian and, of course, Baby Yoda, or Grogu, as his actual name is. Which I actually quite like that name. I quite like the name Grogu.
I do too. I'm never going to stop calling him Baby Yoda. That's just that's who he is. But yeah, I kind of like that name too.
Yeah, but the great thing that I love is that as it does advance the story of them, the two characters, but it also simultaneously, it lays the groundwork for the 3 sort of spin-off shows. And it gives this sort of seismic shift in storytelling focus that will no doubt come in Season 3.
What do you think Season 3 is going to be about?
Oh, God.
Because let's jump into spoiler territory now, okay? Because we've seen some incredible things, some things that I never, after The Rise of Skywalker, I resolved myself to never, believing I would never see certain things on television for Star Wars ever. We saw Ahsoka.
Yep.
We saw the return of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. And we saw the cameo of Luke Skywalker taking Baby Yoda to the Jedi Temple.
So good.
Amazing. And we're talking, multiple years before Kylo Ren decided to go school shooter and kill everybody.
Yeah.
So that leaves a lot of speculation as to what happened. Did Baby Yoda die in the massacre what that Kylo Ren instigated? You know, it to me, it kind of gave a little bit of a possibility as to, have we, without even realizing it, seen the rise or the inception of the Knights of Ren in some of these side characters on the side of the shadowy empire that's going on?
Potentially. I mean, the fact is like, I will say this straight up, that the Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, which I definitely don't want to talk about really much either.
See, I loved The Last Jedi, but The Rise of Skywalker really destroyed a lot of the goodwill that either of the 2 first movies in this 3rd trilogy threw out.
Well, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I love the fact that The Last Jedi was a deconstruction of a Star Wars film while being a Star Wars film, and it threw so much freedom and open world into the Star Wars canon. Instead of having everything have to be about certain families, anybody can be a Jedi. Why does it have to be lineage? Why does it have to be this? And yeah, there was some filler. I mean, Canto Bight, I could have taken or left. I would have preferred to leave it on the table, but, you know, whatever. But what they did with Rey's character, I loved. Then Rise of Skywalker comes in and spends the first half of that movie retconning everything that The Last Jedi did in the worst possible way.
Yep.
So, if you didn't like The Last Jedi, you're really, really not going to like The Rise of Skywalker, because it takes away anything that was good and just gives you shit.
Yep, basically.
I don't know how else to say it more
just
eloquently
shit.
than that.
Just shit.
It's just shit. It was like watching your child take meth while I was watching this film, okay? It's... What are you doing? But the core question is, we've seen Ahsoka, we've seen Boba Fett, and now we have confirmation at the stinger of season 2 of The Mandalorian that we're gonna get a Boba Fett show.
Yes.
I'm in. I am so in.
I am definitely. I mean, I think a lot of people who I've spoke to and watched on YouTube they all thought that was actually going to be season 3 of The Mandalorian because it's coming out around the same time, but it's not.
It's not.
No.
I'm simultaneously fine with that and also trepidatious, because now with Baby Yoda gone, Luke has taken Baby Yoda.
Yep.
Where do we go from here? Because let's be honest, Mando is amazing. I'm sorry, Din. He's amazing, and I love following his stories, but the core story that The Mandalorian has been giving us is Lone Wolf and Cub. It's been the softening of what we've now seen to be a religious zealot. Softening and caring for and nurturing a child. And the dual story between the two of them has been the central focus of The Mandalorian. So with Baby Yoda gone, how does the story proceed?
I mean, all I can really think of, I mean, I'm sure they'll surprise us because they always do. And I put my full faith and trust in Filoni and Favreau, who have been absolutely fantastic so far. They need to be put into everything Star Wars, like, from now on.
I agree.
Because they're...
Full-heartedly.
Because they exuberate that passion, and it clearly shows on screen. There's so much passion for Star Wars that they have, whereas Kathleen Kennedy is utterly useless. And...
Which is so depressing, too, because her name is in the credits for so many greats. How did she whiff on this?
She doesn't deserve any of the credit for Mandalorian. 100% doesn't deserve any credit.
I completely agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah. The only really thing I can think of at the minute that's kind of left... The stone that's left unturned is the whole Bo-Katan maybe having to fight the Mandalorian to get the Darksaber. But that's all I can really think of at the minute. In regards to going further, I mean, the problem is, right, is that now you've introduced Luke. I wouldn't want them to introduce him, give him like a bigger part necessarily. Like maybe show up every now and then, fine. But I feel that Luke is 50%, 100% stronger than everyone involved in the show. And him just showing up and just kicking everyone's ass and being like, oh yeah, so what next? Wouldn't be good. Wouldn't be good for the show.
I agree.
You need to have them have some kind of struggle, you know, almost losing, but then someone else comes in to help. That's what's so great about The Mandalorian, is that at first he kind of comes across as this kind of like badass, like weathered warrior that you think he'd be able to sort of take on everyone by himself, but then you clearly see that he does struggle and he does need help with certain things, and he's not sort of perfect, which kind of annoys me about other films and TV shows when they do that, when they make the main character just like almost too OP and he just can't lose. And I'm really glad that they did that this time with The Mandalorian, and they made it so he needed help quite a bit actually from lots of different people. And I just don't want Luke to show up more in it. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to go from this, because they need to include Baby Yoda again, because he was a big part of the popularity of the show.
Yes, definitely.
So you need to have him back in some way, but then if he's back, then that means Luke's going to be there too. because obviously he's the one training him, or maybe something happens. I don't know. I'm very excited to see where it goes, but also a little bit nervous at the same time.
Same here. I would say that gun-shy is the term that I want to use. Because Star Wars has fucked us so bad in the last 5 years, I'm very, very gun-shy. Now, I will say this. Jon Favreau has done nothing to make me have those fears. As a matter of fact, he has reinstilled faith in the Star Wars fandom to me. But I still have those fears. I still have the toilet sounds that was the final 30 seconds of The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, don't.
Swirling in my head. Despite the fact that Jon Favreau was like, bitch, I got this. And he did have it. Like, I was screaming at the end of The Mandalorian. When Luke shows up, I was screaming. I was going crazy. My 4-year-old, who loves Star Wars, who has seen the original trilogy with me, because, you know, you have a child, you got to trill it up.
Of course.
You know, otherwise the dark side wins.
Yep.
So he even started celebrating. Daddy, is that Luke? I said, hell yeah, it is. My wife, who doesn't really care about Star Wars one way or the other because of the new films, she even ran into the room. Wait, what's going on? Oh my God. She flipped out. So Favreau's done it. He's absolutely done it. And I don't need him to top it, per se.
Yeah.
Play it safe. Just give us something good. That's all I need to say about that.
100%. And obviously, yeah, as I said, him and Dave Filoni, who I think he also did quite a lot of writing in the Clone Wars animated series. Have you seen that?
Unfortunately, not a whole lot of it. I've seen a little bit, but not much.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, the thing that I thought with Mandalorian is, even if you're not like a huge Star Wars fan, you can still really enjoy it. However, if you are a big Star Wars fan, you enjoy this so much more, because there's just the little characters they put in. As I said, the fan service, etc., that they put in is just brilliant. And a lot of people, like say my parents who watched it, they loved it. And every time they were just like, oh, who's that character? Who's that character? And they didn't recognise Boba Fett. They didn't know who Ahsoka Tano was. They didn't know... Well, I mean, they recognised Luke. I mean, if they didn't recognise Luke, I'd have just called Childline and be like, what's going on?
Papa, can I have a paternity test? Because I'm not sure that this is kosher here. What's going on?
But yeah, so I have every faith in them. Don't get me wrong, as you said, I am still a bit nervous about what's coming in Season 3. I wonder... Although I do, when I saw all the announcements for all the different Star Wars series, I thought that is a bit too much. And they are milking the hell out of this Star Wars. Like, milking the hell out of it.
I will agree with that, yes. I don't think that we need as much as they're trying to give us.
Yeah.
Now, if they have the caliber of show as what we've seen with The Mandalorian, I will probably be in. Okay? But we've seen varying quality of shared universe IP, say, in the Berlantiverse. Okay? I cannot think of one single person that likes and in the same year all of the Greg Berlanti superhero shows on the CW.
Yeah.
You know, I have yet to see a bad episode or a bad season, of Supergirl, but I've seen a bad season of The Flash. I stopped caring about Arrow so much that I stopped watching it. Legends of Tomorrow has been hit or miss. So, whereas all of those shows have had great seasons, I've yet to see a year where they all had a great year, all together.
Yeah.
So, be careful and don't overextend yourself. That's all I'm going to say to Disney on this. Be careful and don't overextend. You captured lightning in a bottle. You're winning us back over. Don't shit the bed with this. Play it safe, okay?
100%. I feel that... I mean, the fact is, I don't want, like, Season 2... I mean, I would love it for Season 3 to stand out and be better than 2. At the minute, I can't think as to what they could do to better it. you know when you get to that point when you think, are you sort of your highest point right now, and you're like, just please, just if it's worse, I mean, as long as it's still enjoyable, I'm still happy for it. But I wonder if they can top it or not. That's my question.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So, all right, we got to keep on moving on. Otherwise, this is going to turn into a 4-hour show. But
just a Star Wars podcast.
I realized, oh God, we've got so much more that we could talk about with this series. But we do have to move on because we've still got 2 more shows apiece and 3 films to talk about. So on both of our lists, The Mandalorian.
Yes.
For pick 1 for television. Pick number 2. What do you got for TV shows?
Pick number 2. I don't know if this will be on yours, but this has genuinely surprised me in so many ways as to just how great it is, and that is Cobra Kai.
I have yet to see an episode of Cobra Kai.
Oh, man.
I've yet to see an episode. After seeing your review of Season 3, which, by the way, you did not give spoilers on, and I appreciate it. So, for this one, we'll step away from the spoilers. If only for selfish fucking reasons, okay? I know the premise of it. And I'm so glad to see Danny back again, or Daniel-san, excuse me. I'm so happy for the premise, and I've heard that it's a great show. I mean, it was so great that Netflix took it over from YouTube. So, it's great. It's great to see this. I cannot wait to sit down and give this show the attention it deserves. But you raved about Season 3 of Cobra Kai. Mm-hmm. You had it a half point below Season 2 of The Mandalorian.
I did. See, when I put that, I realized, like, my score. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I know you were a bit disappointed that I didn't give Mandalorian a 10. And I was thinking about it, and I thought a 10 would be, like, utterly perfect. And I'm not saying that it was very close to it, but I think there may have been, like, say maybe in, I don't know, like the second episode of, say, The Mandalorian, I thought, yeah, it was pretty good, but it wasn't like, oh wow, brilliant. But every other show, like, blew me away. But I think just that episode alone took it down a bit. I'll be honest with you.
Fair enough.
It was still entertaining, and I still really enjoyed it, but just not to the extent that I enjoyed everything else.
I get it. I get that. Yeah.
But Cobra Kai, like, I kind of, when I first heard about it, I thought, this is gonna be awful. This is gonna be pretty, like, cheesy as hell, and it's just because have you ever seen The Karate Kid? I'm sure you have.
Oh God, I love The Karate Kid.
Yeah,
I loved it.
See, if you loved it, then yeah, you're gonna go absolutely head over heels for this series. Especially the third one. Like, in regards to kind of its relationship to The Karate Kid, it sort of follows up really well. And I actually think that it's better than the Karate Kid films. I'm going to say that right now.
Really?
Yep.
Really? Now, the premise that I understood, at least for Season 1, and I'm sure that things have changed and things have evolved, but the premise that I understood for Season 1 of Cobra Kai is that essentially Danny Zuko is the protagonist, whereas Daniel-san is the antagonist. I'm sorry, I gave actual names. Billy Zabka, and Ralph Macchio, as far as the actors. Daniel-san is the bad guy, and his arch nemesis is the good guy in Season 1. Is that accurate, or is it more nuanced than that?
I mean, the thing is, like, obviously, like, Johnny Lawrence, he's...
Johnny, thank you.
Yeah, John. Yeah. They almost swap sides for a bit. So Johnny becomes the protagonist for a bit, and then Danny, and then I'll just say LaRusso, whatever. Danny becomes the antagonist for a bit, but as the series progresses, they kind of almost continuously, like, swap sides. But but they do it in a believable way, not just kind of like, oh right, okay, you know, what have you done to earn that? Why should I believe that you're suddenly now the bad guy? But they're not so much the bad guy in the sense that they want to do wrong. It's just kind of more their beliefs and the fact that they're way too arrogant and stubborn to actually kind of admit that they are more alike than they realise.
Gotcha.
But they just don't want to admit that. And there's a part of them in each other that they don't want to see. So they try and disguise that. And it's... some of their students are just kind of plain dickheads. But it's... and obviously...
And you'll have that.
yeah, of course. But I would 100% recommend this, even if you're not really a fan of Karate Kid. It's still there is fan service in this, of course it has to go back and show what's happened, especially if you haven't seen Karate Kid. It's very easy to ruin a reputation like the Karate Kid has, but Cobra Kai does the exact opposite, and it sort of but it does help to watch the Karate Kid movies before Cobra Kai. So I would probably suggest watching all three, to be fair. Not just the first one, because they do actually take parts from 2 and 3 as well. The characters are great. There's so many rivalries, backstories, and so much more. And you know, back in sort of the first Karate Kid, LaRusso, he was kind of your hero. And this is what I said before, you know. But in season 1, Johnny's kind of more of your hero, throughout of it. And yeah, as I said, with the different viewpoints, etc. But Johnny's kind of Cobra Kai. When you hear Cobra Kai, would you more associate that with Kreese, or would you more associate that with Johnny?
Personally, Johnny.
Okay.
Personally.
I hated Kreese so much, by the way. Legit, that guy is an absolute prick. I hated Silver as well. Do you remember Silver? What's his name? Tony Silver?
Tony Silver, yeah.
Oh my god.
And now, granted, I'm also recording this in the morning. I'm on my second cup of coffee with a splitting headache right now. I'm pretty sure I called one of the characters in this the main character from Grease. Okay, so names are escaping me so far this morning.
I think you did. I sat there and let you get on with it for a second.
I'm like, did I say Danny Zapka? What? Anyway. Yes, I do remember Silver.
Yeah. But yes, there are some fantastic characters. Miguel, who is kind of the true sort of underdog of the story, who's being sort of taught by Johnny. There's Robbie, who's Johnny's kid, who's just trying to have another chance at life. There's Sam, who's the daughter of Danny, and she's a bit of a spoiled brat. But she grows on you later on. There's Tori, a girl who comes from a poor family and doesn't take no for an answer. And there's Hawk, who was a once bullied kid who becomes one of the coolest kids you ever meet. And there's so many more awesome characters involved. And one last thing I'll sort of say that I love about the Cobra Kai is the choreography. And it gets better and better as the seasons go. And as you heard before in my review, I think that the last episode, there's 2 fights in there that are choreographed just so well that I had to go back and just watch it again just to see that fight alone. I'm
so excited to watch this.
Oh mate, it's I even get excited thinking about it. I even get excited thinking about how I felt watching that, my mouth open, just watching this, just holy shit, this is done so well. And this one particular fight was done in a house at the end. I'm not, without obviously spoiling anything. It was done in a house with so many different people fighting, but it was all done in one shot, which was very impressive.
I respect those scenes so much in film and television.
Yeah,
I love that. I absolutely love it. All right, so season 3 of Cobra Kai. That is your second pick.
It is.
Let's go for the final one. The nail in your coffin for the top 3 shows of 2020. Number 3 is...
Now this was more difficult, because those two kind of stood out for me. Don't get me wrong, I am tied between 2, I'll be honest with you. I am tied between The Queen's Gambit and The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Nice. Very, very, very nice choices.
And I think it's going to be The Haunting of Bly Manor, if I had to say.
That's totally fair. I have yet to see The Queen's Gambit, but everybody raves about it. Haunting of Bly Manor, I can talk about. It is not on my list, but I can talk about that one. That was a great show. Didn't quite hold up to Haunting of Hill House for me, but I like the direction it went. It was a much more intimate, different type of horror story to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was more a gothic love story than anything else.
Right. And the final episode made me cry several times. Just
oh my God.
Oh God.
I didn't expect it to end so well.
No.
Because I sat there and as they were once they'd kind of moved on from the house, and I thought to myself, well, surely that's just going to be, eventually she's going to, overtake her, properly sort of possess her, and then that'll be it, she'll be done. Mm-hmm. But just the way that, I had no idea that it was the, I can't even remember the characters' names, the woman who was telling the story from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
It was still her. And it's just that very last scene really got me, when she's asleep on the chair and you see that hand on her shoulder, and I was like, oh my Lord.
Oh, that got me. That got me. The part that really made me start to well up, and you knew that it was that way, the way they were wrapping it up, but as the camera pans around during the wedding, and you see the people that she was telling the story to all at the wedding, as it sweeps back over and you see them as you saw them for the majority of the series.
Yep.
God, that made me start crying. And you're just like, they know it and they get it. They know exactly what she was talking about. They understood everything that she said. Oh man, that got to me.
100%. There wasn't that many scares this time. There was one or two that got me a little bit. I think one of them, but it slowly became it just wasn't scary anymore, was near to the beginning when she's in her room and she's about to leave, and she looks behind, you can see in the back of the mirror, and there's that guy with the glasses, with the bright glasses.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, who the fuck's that?
Yep. Absolutely.
But then they overused it too much and it didn't become scary anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. It had a very ominous feel to it until it didn't. And yeah, it came from overuse, for sure.
Yeah, because they just kept showing him. She just kept seeing him so much. I was like, well, he's not creepy anymore. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, Haunting of Bly Manor, that is your third choice. Great choices on television. Seriously, great choices.
Now I'm curious.
As far as my choices, you mentioned that you had kind of a toss-up between that and Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Queen's Gambit as your honorable mention, I guess. The honorable mention that I have here is a show that was not brand new in 2020. It didn't even have a new season in 2020, but I saw it in 2020. Okay. And unfortunately, it is a show that was impacted by COVID. So the fourth season was not able to be released during the year. They had to push it back a year. I'm referring to the new Amy Palladino show, 4 years old, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Okay. I've seen that.
Love this show. I've always had a soft spot for Amy Sherman Palladino. I think that she writes extremely quippy, extremely hilarious dialogue. Her writing style reminds me of Kaufman at heart. Okay? I love her writing, and I think that the acting, the score, the stand-up in this show is second to none. So if you've not seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I highly recommend it. It is extremely funny. The premise essentially follows a Jewish housewife who ends up getting divorced from her husband after she realizes that her husband had an affair. He cops to it, realizes that he messed up, asks for, another chance. She says no and decides to start making it on her own. And the way that she decides to go about doing this is by being a stand-up comedian. And the adventures that she has in the show are hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Period piece. Set in New York in the 1950s. I recommend this to anybody that's looking for a good laugh. The first episode is okay up until the end when she does her first stand-up bit, and it just goes from there. Phenomenal show.
Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to give that a shot then.
I highly recommend it. I really do. My first choice was The Mandalorian. We've already discussed. My second choice, I'm just going to touch on these real quick. Zoe's Infinite Playlist. I thought this show was brilliant. It's a musical dramedy with a very interesting premise. Jane Levy's character, I forget her name in the show, but main character played by Jane Levy, has some sort of accident in the hospital, and now she sees and hears people singing their true thoughts and true feelings. So she almost has like a mind-reading ability. She can sense that there's something going on. She can sense when people are hiding a truth because their quote-unquote heart songs will sing to her. So they're giant musical and dance productions, and her goal is to try to help those around her. And it has good choices in music. It has fantastic voices. So the music itself is good. It has good choices in the songs that they've picked. And the emotionality is there too, as she's finally able to communicate with her father, who is dying of a degenerate brain disease. So he does not have the ability to speak anymore. And she is able to start communicating with him and find out what his thoughts, fears, and feelings are to everything going on around him through his heart songs. It's a very intelligent show, has a lot of good emotionality to it, great performances, good music. May not be for everybody, but I think that its unique quality earns it a place in my top 3. I really enjoyed watching it, and thank God it is renewed for a second season.
Okay, well, there's another one on my list.
And my final pick, I've got to give it to The Outsider, which is a TV series. Unfortunately, it has been canceled. They're currently trying to shop around to see if there's some place that wants to pick up a season 2. But this was an HBO horror drama based on the story and characters from Stephen King. I loved this show, and I started watching it without any knowledge that it was a Stephen King show. I thought it was ominous. I thought that it had a phenomenal mystery to it. It ends up dealing with the supernatural and the paranormal. Jason Bateman covered in blood. Horrifying. It has... I can't say too much about this because this is a type of show that I just need to say it starts with a murder and it goes on from there. It does deal with the murder of a child at first. So if that is triggering to anybody, maybe skip this one, but I really would recommend this show. The mystery is good. The acting is great. It has good representation for people with autism. So I think the representation is good. The horror elements are good. This show kept me in my chair. I could not stop watching it. This is one of the few shows that I binged almost all the way through in one day this year. The Outsider, HBO, you can check it out right now.
Oh, okay. I mean, I love the book, and I have still yet to watch the show. I don't know why. I haven't watched it yet. I have no idea why, because I love the book. So, yeah, there's another one.
I do recommend it. The performances are great. It does deviate pretty far from the book, but this is one case where I don't think that that's a bad thing. So, and it's one of the 2 Stephen King adaptations that have come out in 2020. I cannot put The Stand on my list, even though I'm enjoying it and I'm intrigued with the choices that they've made. I cannot put it on my list for a variety of reasons. One, it's the majority of the show is going to be in 2021, so to me it feels more like a 2021 show. And 2, I'm intrigued, but I'm not sold. So I think I need to wait until the series is done before I can really come down one side or the other. So maybe I'll be talking about it next year. Who knows? But those are our lists for the best TV shows that you can watch from 2020. I cannot wait to watch Cobra Kai. That is one that is really high up on.
I can't wait to talk to you about it.
Well, we're just gonna have to have you back. That's just it.
Yeah.
Right,
we'll do.
let's move on to films. Okay, top 3 films of 2020, and again, I think we're gonna have some overlap here. But go ahead. Your first pick.
This, you see, because there wasn't obviously as many good films in 2020 as
there wasn't as many fucking films. Period.
Well, no, there wasn't.
So the pool is quite small.
Yeah. Do you know what? Like, and I kind of know, like, my top. Well, I wouldn't even say my top 3. Maybe my top 5 or top 10. Who knows? I think one of them has got to be Tenet.
Yet to see it.
Okay.
It was released throughout the world sooner than it was released here in the United States. It had limited runs in a few cities. That is fair. Buffalo, New York, where I'm from, was not one of those cities. So I did not have the opportunity to see it in theaters. It has now been released on Blu-ray. Now I just have to find the time to watch it. But you had the opportunity. I did not.
Yeah. Tenet is... I mean, I assume that you roughly know what Tenet is about.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, like, you could watch a trailer and you could think, oh, yeah, you know, I've got a rough idea. I mean, to put it in, like, layman's terms, it's basically about a secret agent who is given a single word as his weapon, and he's sent to prevent the onset of World War III. And he must travel sort of through time and bend the laws of nature in order to be successful in his mission. Now, obviously, as you've probably seen, this did get panned a bit.
It did, yeah. This has also been the year for divulging opinions and stuff like that. Yeah, it got panned and it got praised. Like, I've heard people say that this is a Nolan masterpiece and people saying that it was horrible. Very little in between.
I guess it really depends on what kind of mindset you have going into it. And everyone thinks differently. And I feel that I think it's a great film. I had to go and see it twice. It's one of those kind of films that maybe you need to go and see 3-4 times. I don't know, because it's got a deep complex concepts to sort of unravel well after the credits roll, and you're talking about it for ages afterwards. And I feel that the low ratings of criticism for films, like for the film's over the top confusion, is more sort of indicative of like an audience that has been spoon-fed brainlessly simple ideas for far too long.
That's fair.
Than kind of any legitimate flaw in Nolan's sculpture of like a flowing and sort of seamless narrative thread anyway. And despite its sort of complexity, I think that the film is perfectly paced. I think that the actors bring a fluid confidence that assures the audience that the very least the characters understand inversion, even if we don't. And the cinematography and the score also hold up their weight alongside the driving narrative. If I had to say something, like there were some weaknesses. I'm not saying that this is a perfect film by any means. I think that sometimes, and this has happened in other Nolan films, and maybe you might agree with me on this, is that sometimes the sound effects or the music it overpowers the vocals.
Yes,
the dialogue.
That is a major criticism that I've had with Nolan films in the past, specifically Inception.
Right.
Inception was, I think, his biggest perpetrator so far.
I think Dunkirk was, to be honest with you.
That's fair. There's a lot in the end of the second act in Inception where I almost needed subtitles to understand. Not necessarily hear, but actually audibly understand what the characters were saying. Because of the background, the music, and the sound effects and everything, I could hear that they were speaking, but I couldn't pick out every single word. It felt almost like it was mic'd, but not properly. Like they turned the bass up too much. So Inception was rough for me. Dunkirk, yeah, I think that there's definitely an argument to be had there.
Yeah. So that was something that I again was present, and I was just kind of like, surely by now he knows. Surely he's seen enough people say about this that when he comes to it, the drawing board, he doesn't want to do that again.
But he did it again.
But he did it again. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Let's see what his next film is like, and if he does it again, then I guess he's just not one to listen to constructive criticism.
I guess, and it's such a small criticism too. It's like, seriously, just do a little bit better with the audio mixing. We're not asking too much. We're really not. So
yeah.
Okay, so Tenet is your first pick.
Yes.
Second pick. What do you got?
Second pick again. This is going to be very sort of divisive. I don't know. It depends on who saw it and who enjoyed it, etc. But I really, really enjoyed the third Bill and Ted film.
Okay, this is our first bit of overlap. Absolutely agreed. Bill and Ted Face the Music is definitely in my top 3 for the year.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%. I was really, really concerned about this. Like, really concerned.
Same here. I mean, a reboot after over 20 years, you know? They've gone to the past. They've been to the future. They've been to heaven and hell. What more can you give us? Boom! Fatherhood. There we go. And that's basically all I thought it was going into it. You know, I didn't know much more about what was going on. I heard a couple of little quips in the trailer, and I thought that they were funny, but I loved Bill and Ted. My wife's obsessed with the Bill and Ted movies. She's always loved them.
Yeah.
It's one of her favorite series. So she was excited going in. So as soon as this dropped, and this did drop in the United States, we saw it at the drive-in. Loved it. I'll let you go first. What about this movie puts it on the list for you?
I think that after the great but quite frankly underrated second film, which I really loved.
Same here.
I think that this one still captures the magic and charm of the franchise, and it gives us a really entertaining and fulfilling end to Bill and Ted's adventure. The cast and the acting throughout, I thought, was really good.
Oh, yes.
Even after,
anything with Samara Weaving, I'm sorry.
Yes. Who is it? She looks a lot like Gal Gadot. No, not Gal Gadot. Sorry, what am I talking about? Margot Robbie.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Very much so.
I agree. I prefer Samara Weaving, but yeah, she definitely does have a Margot Robbie look.
Yeah. Even after like 30 years, which is crazy to think, right? 30 years. Like Keanu and Alex, they still capture their sort of respective characters perfectly. They still do a great job with them. And obviously, like Samara Weaving and I think it's Bridget Lundy-Payne, I think her name is.
I think that's accurate, yeah.
They are just brilliant throughout the film. They're actually really good. I really enjoyed their performances. The writing as well, I can't really fault it. I thought it was great. The characters in the franchise, they always have had sort of great depth, and they're well written. The direction is great. The music is great. The comedy was still on point, and it still made me laugh. It got laughs out of me. I think there was like what was it that I saw somewhere, that if there's like a laughing limit on a film, and you have to laugh at least maybe 4 or 5 times for it to be considered a comedy or to be considered like a funny film. Something like that anyway.
Okay, then.
I can't remember where it is I saw it, but...
Well, at least we know that there's a barometer then.
Yeah.
I was unaware of that, honestly.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it was... I praise it a lot. Yes, obviously it's not a perfect film by any means. But it was just very entertaining all round. I had an absolute blast watching it, and it really kind of made me remiss about the previous films. And they ended it nicely as well.
Yes.
And yeah, all round, really enjoyed it.
You said almost everything, man. I love this film as well. It's on my top 3 list for sure. For me, more than anything, it's the writing and the themes. This film captured a perfect theme for 2020. Something that really needs to be hammered home to a lot of the elder statesmen of our elected bodies and of our generations. It's something that needs to be hammered home to our parents, our grandparents, and then later in life be hammered home to us. And that is, step aside and let the youth take care of it. That is ultimately what this film felt like to me. The whole concept of the first two Bill and Ted films was, it's not them. They're not the ones that are supposed to do this thing. They're the ones that are supposed to usher in what needs to be done. And they spend the entire time fighting with themselves, fighting with their future selves. It's so interesting to me to see, like, two different, well, not just two, but multiple age ranges of Bill and Ted, and to see how much they villainize and demonize their younger selves for fucking up their lives instead of taking responsibility themselves and trying to move forward. So much so that they want to basically collapse the space-time continuum because they're so pissed off at the decisions that they made and trying to take the easy ways out when they were younger. When you find out that at the end it's togetherness and it's them stepping aside and letting their children take over, that is ultimately what is going to save the world. It's not their time anymore. Their time has come and gone. They've done what they were supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do all along, and the fact that they're still holding on, the fact that they're still trying to be the saviors of whatever, is actually what's collapsing the universe. It's actually what's causing the problems. So the fact that there are these themes running in this almost stoner film, which is kind of sort of what Bill and Ted could have been, considered. Not really, but kind of. I thought was absolutely brilliant. This film was far deeper than people gave it credit for when they sat down for it. And I think it's a film that's going to be discussed a lot more as the years go on. I thought this film was great, and it came out at a perfect time.
Yep, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
All right, you got one more here, buddy.
I got one more, and this has been difficult because there have been some good films. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, there's been a lot that have been pushed forward, but my third pick would probably be The Invisible Man.
I don't even know what else to say. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And once again, we have crossover.
We do.
Yes, we do. I want to give a quick honorable mention, even though a lot of people hated it. I'm going to defend it. I loved Wonder Woman 1984. I almost think that it was better than the first one in the film franchise, or in the series. But I'm going to set that there.
No, I mean,
step away. Let the hate flow, people. Come on.
Hey, I enjoyed it too.
My head.
I enjoyed it too. You saw my review, I enjoyed it too. But it was weird because I remember going to the cinema to watch it, and it was an absolute blast being able to go back to the cinema again. Like, I can't tell you how much I'd missed it. And I remember seeing it, and I remember initially it was getting a lot of praise, and then it came out to stream. And oh my God, it got absolutely hammered.
Yep.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yep.
Why? How did that change?
That I'm like, did we watch the same movie?
Yeah.
Seriously, did we see the same thing?
I thought to myself, should I go and watch it again just to make sure?
Right. And then I did go and watch it again just to make sure, and I loved it the second time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I really don't. Because so many reviewers who I admire and appreciate, they've all said how awful it is. And it's like, oh man, what's going on?
Well, all due respect to them, and same here. All due respect to them, I disagree. I think that it was a great film. I really do.
That just comes down to opinions, end of the day.
It does. It really does. And I've seen them back up their opinions on why it was a shit film. Fair enough. I don't agree with you, but I see where you're coming from. I may or may not throw out a video in the next couple of weeks defending it. I don't know. I'm putting out a video in the next couple of weeks defending Wonder Woman 1984. But I thought it was a great film.
Yes. But let's move on to something that we can't see, The Invisible Man.
Exactly. Something that we both agree on. The Invisible Man. God.
Now, one of the things that scared me the most, and I think that it's been used in the decent horror films anyway, to a certain degree, it's the fear of something that's there but you can't see it.
Yeah.
And that was so brought to life.
Drama playing in your head. Yes.
It was every time she was in her house, and she just kind of turned around and just looked, and you just like, where the hell is this guy? Where is he? And I just, it would send shivers down my spine. To think that the first Invisible movie was about 120 years old. I think.
My God.
I think it is anyway.
You might be right about that. I will say this: it has a much higher body count than the original one.
Well, yeah,
he kills well over 100 people in that movie.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of people that he kills, but I mean, I was a bit leery when deciding whether to watch this or not. I was like, I saw the trailer, and I was just like, meh, it could just be a sort of bog standard crap. I mean, just the title, just The Invisible Man, I was just like, I don't know. It could just be one of those really sort of crap films. But 1 minute into this movie, and I was absolutely hooked. Like, the directing, the cinematography, the pacing, and the relentless, tense musical score were the elements that sort of helped really sort of propel this movie forward.
Absolutely.
But the absolute genius and the raw power of Elizabeth Moss's acting is what left me in awe.
The one scene in particular that stands out is when she's having that fight in the kitchen.
Oh, God.
That fight had to be choreographed in such a specific way that when I was watching some behind-the-scenes footage of it, when you're hearing Leigh Whannell shouting out, okay, move here, okay, this beat, move, she has to keep the choreography going in a certain way while acting, while listening, while playing off of the other actors, while hitting all of these spots, just so that the camera can get the shots that it needs. She deserves all the awards for that scene in particular.
She deserves a Best Actress Academy Award for portraying like this abused woman on the apparent edge of madness who is determined not just to survive her relentless stalker, but to destroy him.
Precisely. It's a plot line in the film itself being, an abuse victim, but also the entire film itself is also an allegory for abuse. Just some of the different shots that are used, like when she's going out to get the paper and then you just see a jogger coming up to her, just having that PTSD. You know what I mean? The way it reads on film, it's perfect. It really is. And to think that this film came from the director of Saw.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say. I really don't. The Invisible Man, one of the best films of 2020.
Yeah.
Hands down, I completely agree with you.
I think this is like drama at its best. For film buffs there, you might get this a bit more. But just imagine what, say, Julia Roberts could have been in, like, Sleeping with the Enemy. Like, coupled with the sort of very best that Hitchcock could muster. And you have some idea of what Moss has done in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I'd say that's perfectly. That's a perfect concept right there. Yes.
Yeah, and there's certain bits that I love that proper chilled me, like when she stands outside and it's cold and you can see her breath and then you see a breath behind her and I was like, oh my God. It's ridiculous.
Exactly, and it just goes to show what good horror can be. You don't need all of the gore and the blood and the guts to make an effective horror movie. You need atmosphere and ambiance, a little bit of mystery. That's what you need. And this film captured it perfectly. And I was the same way. I couldn't believe it at first when I was hearing such rave reviews for this film. I was like, really? A remake of The Invisible Man and everybody's talking about it? I've got to see this. Well, I agree.
Yeah.
It deserved every bit of accolades it received and more.
100%. And it's just even something as simple as like the lingering gaze that she has on like empty hallways, unoccupied chairs, and apparently vacant like corners of rooms, like brings a deep chill. It really does. And you just imagine that the kind of danger that she can feel lurking there, though it's invisible to the naked eye. Yep. It's man, and I thought the ending was very satisfying as well.
Is the way he says surprise, and just makes it so that she knows. And yeah,
he tries to make her think she's like going a bit mad.
Yeah, well, gaslighting. I mean, textbook definition of gaslighting her. You know.
Yep, and then she just bam off of his throat. Away you go, and then it's just that sense of relief in her, but there's that little smirk that kind of comes as well near to the end when she's just kind of standing there. She's walking off.
Just enough to say, "Bitch, I won." You know.
Yeah, but just imagine the psychological torment that still does to you afterwards. Even though you've got rid of him, you're still maybe mentally picturing that there may still be another one out there, because even though you've killed it, you're like, well, what if this happens again? You're always going to be on edge.
Exactly, because that's what trauma does. It stays with you.
Yeah, 100%.
So, perfect. So we agreed on two of them. We had two films that were crossover. My outlier right here, I will admit, is not a film that I believe is in the same quality and caliber as, let's say, Tenet or The Invisible Man, but it's a film that I think deserves a little bit of recognition. It was a film that was released exclusively on Shudder called Host. Now, the reason I'm throwing this out is simply because of the world that we have been living in for the past year. To get together with our friends and family, we've been having holidays over Zoom calls. We've been playing Magic the Gathering on Zoom and over Skype, Who the hell knew what the hell Zoom was before the coronavirus hit?
Yep.
I cannot think of a single fucking person. So to have not only the concept of what this film is, but implement it, write it, shoot it, and release it all before Halloween of 2020, I thought was perfect. And what this film is essentially is, let's call it Paranormal Activity over a Zoom call. And I've always been a fan of these tech horror movies anyway. Lots of people didn't seem to care for the film Unfriended. I thought it was great. I really did. Yes, I hated all of the teenagers in that movie. That's kind of the point, though. In this film, in Host, I didn't care for everybody there. Just like if you're hanging out with a group of friends, you may not be close with absolutely everybody, or you may not feel like hanging out with everybody at a particular time. Sometimes they bring along their annoying spouse or something like that, or their annoying fiance. And that's what this film does. It has that realism to it. It has organic dialogue. It has that real feel to it that I think that a lot of found footage types of films, which you could categorize this as, a lot of found footage films have been lacking. Okay?
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity came out, and then all horror movies for a while had to be found footage.
Of course.
Even films that suffered for it. There was a lot of films that I thought, you made this a found footage film and destroyed it.
A couple of good ones.
Yeah. Yes, of course, there were a couple of good ones. But then there were, I don't know. There were a couple of good ones, and then, it went away. This was an interesting concept, to have a seance over a Zoom call and fuck it up because you decided to fuck around, and then see what happens because of that. And that's essentially the concept of Host, is it becomes Paranormal Activity over a Zoom call. I thought that the idea was brilliant, the concept was brilliant, and to see something rushed through so quickly and capture a moment in our collective worldwide culture, something that's going to go down in the history books that they'll be talking about centuries from now. We still talk about the plague of Justinian. We still talk about the Spanish flu. Do not kid yourselves. They will be talking about the coronavirus of 2020 a long time from now. This will be in the history books. And to have a film like this that captures what it was like to be living through this moment, for, our children and grandchildren to, just stumble upon on the internet one day, well, what's this horror movie? Wow, this is weird. I thought was amazing. And it's not every day that you see a film rushed into, through, and completed production in such a short amount of time have such good quality. So I have to give a nod, for no other reason than that, to Host.
Okay. I mean, I think that I Unfriended I did quite enjoy. I did think the Dark Web was awful.
That was terrible. Yeah, that was so bad.
Jesus Christ, that was bad. So after that, when I saw about the Host, and it was the same kind of premise, not similar, with the calls, I thought, I'm going to give it a miss, because it really put me off. But I will give it a watch now.
Yeah, Dark Web, I think that ruined a lot of goodwill. Unfriended seemed to, people were kind of drifting around in the middle on it, saying, it's fun. I rather liked it. I really did. But yeah, Unfriended Dark Web was terrible. Oh God, it was so bad. I probably would have skipped this film if I didn't stumble on an article online, I think it was on Bloody Disgusting, where it just mentioned that it was the way I described it. It was Paranormal Activity over a Zoom call. And when I heard that, I'm like, well, we're in the middle of the coronavirus. Shudder's like $5.99 for a month. I'll get it. There's some shows I want to watch on there. I'm interested. I'll check it out. And I was surprised at how much I legitimately enjoyed it. There were some legitimate scares. The tension was good. The acting was good. The characterization was good. You don't like everybody, but again, you're not supposed to, And I really dislike movies that try to force you to like everybody in the film, because you're not always supposed to. And Host really captures that feel. And you chastise them for their decisions, but you also sympathize and feel for them as well. Some scary moments, some great concepts, and I think that this film deserves more discussion than it has gotten, because it seems to have only gotten a little bit of a flash in the pan. I feel that it deserves more than that. So that is my third pick, Host. You can find it on Shudder.
Okay, give it a watch.
All right, guys, that's our list. That's our list. The best TV shows that you can check out and the best films. Again, all of these are our opinions. You may completely disagree. You may be like, Host, that movie was a fucking dumpster fire. Or The Mandalorian, fuck The Mandalorian. Fuck Disney and their Star Wars asses. I don't know who would say that, but those people probably exist somewhere, okay? But that's our opinions, and we're all entitled to them. What are your picks for the best shows and films in 2020? You can tell us both, man. You can find us on social media. You can find me on Twitter at Robbie Talks a Lot. Yeah, the Twitter handle is appropriate. You can find Andrew. Tell them where you can find you. How do you reach the Bladedrummer, man?
Well, if you just go on to as I said, if you just go on YouTube and literally just type in Bladedrummer, I am literally the first person there. Twitter, I am Blade_drummer. Instagram, I am Andy_9898. Am I? Actually, hang on. I'm pretty sure I am.
I love that.
Yes,
Wait,
I am. Yes, I am
I?
correct. Yes.
I'm so unsure of this.
I'm so unsure of myself. But I was thinking, what would also be really fun, would be another point. We do our top 3 films of all time and our top 3 series of all time.
Oh God. Oh, that could be difficult.
Yep.
That could be very, very, very difficult.
Give you some time to think about it.
Rabbit holes.
Yeah, give you some time to think about it, mate.
Sadly, as far as series, I don't need that much time.
I don't.
Movies, that would take a little bit.
I mean, I can already give you my favourite film of all time. It'd just be the other 2 that I would struggle with.
All right, drop it.
Okay, it's Lord of the Rings.
The Fellowship of the Ring, or are you combining all 3 into one?
I'm going to say the whole trilogy in one film, like in one section, because it's all note for note perfect. It's the perfect fantasy film, and it deserves all the Oscars that it got. And I have never... I remember when I went to see Fellowship of the Ring. I know you're trying to close up here, but I'd go on around here.
I know you're trying to close this up. You know, people need to go on with their lives, but I'm going to fucking talk about Lord of the Rings. You will not stop me.
I could do a whole fucking podcast about Lord of the Rings, and I will be at one point. Trust me, I will be at one point.
I don't doubt this.
I will quickly say is, when I went to see The Fellowship of the Ring for the first time, and I walked out the cinema, I was so speechless to what I'd just seen. And I have still yet to experience that same feeling for any other film that I've seen.
That's high praise. And I think all of us know that feeling. When you leave the theater and you just have that feeling, those chills, that your mind is racing and you were just so engrossed and enthralled in this film, and it just took you away.
Yep.
You know, it spirited you away to another place for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the length of the film may be. I think we've all had that feeling at least once. So this is the film series / one long ass fucking movie that did it for you.
100%.
That's totally fair. Again, film, that would be difficult. That would be very, very difficult for me.
Well, there's so many incredible films. I mean...
Precisely.
It's hard.
And how does one gauge their response? Films that impacted you and in some way formed the person that you are now? Films that you legitimately enjoyed? Is it a movie that has a theme or a way to analyze it that just is such a deep well of content and discussion and debate and philosophy? Or is it just something that you click on because it's like a comfort blanket? You know, I mean, a good example for that being my wife's favorite film is Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, you could analyze that film, but more than anything, it's a comfort blanket for her. It's always funny. It's always good. The performances are great. You know, it's just a film that she turns to whether she's happy or sad, good mood or bad. It doesn't matter. It's always there for her, and she always loves it. That is a favorite film. You know, that is a top film to someone. I mean, so how does one gauge the response, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at a film and when I review a film, like when I tell people that The Shawshank Redemption isn't in my top 5, they look at me like I've just killed a cat. I'm like, it's not that point. I look at it in two ways. One, obviously the quality. I'm not saying Shawshank Redemption isn't brilliant, because it is.
It is, yes.
It is, but I look at it in the quality, obviously cinematography, direction, actors, etc. I look at all that. But then, as you said before, the other way is, how does it resonate with me? Like, how does it resonate through my body? How does it make me feel? How does it make me connect with it? Like, if I fully connect with something in 100% way, then it's going to top something that is just brilliant in quality, but I don't connect with it as much.
Precisely.
Like The Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, I won't go too much into this. We're trying to fucking close up here, and we're just going off on a fucking tangent. Like, this is
the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
But no, I agree with you, man. And it's something that I have gotten a lot of acid-tongued remarks, you know, thrown my way about when, you know, me being a film student and saying one of my favorite films of all time is not and never will be Citizen Kane. I recognize its cultural significance. Mm-hmm. We would not have a lot of the film techniques, writing, you know, we wouldn't have a lot of what we have today if it were not for Citizen Kane. I recognize and respect that. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is, in my opinion, one of my top films of all time. As a matter of fact, it's not even in my top 20. Again, I recognize the cultural importance and impact, but we've moved. You know, we've evolved. We've gone past that. And yeah, there are factors that I include, like directing, writing, acting, you know, score. I factor all of that in when I'm, you know, gauging and reviewing a film as well. But my go-to is enjoyment. Did I enjoy the film? And okay, so the answer is yes. Then how did it make me feel? Happy, sad, whatever. Lincoln is a good example. Daniel Day-Lewis, Sally Field. technically speaking, that film was incredible. The costumes were great. The acting was great. The score was great. The film was unwatchable to me. I was so damn bored. So, yeah, fine. Daniel Day-Lewis did an amazing job portraying Abraham Lincoln. That's great. He did it in a movie that I didn't enjoy. I didn't like the movie. So, of course, it's not going to end up on any of my lists. Whereas The Invisible Man, I loved the movie. You know? So, fuck off with this elitism.
I know what you mean. And it's not even... Right, this is unpopular opinions, apparently, right now, what we're doing.
Basically.
Unpopular opinions.
You know, we should have an episode dedicated to unpopular opinions.
Oh, fuck yeah, I'll be destroyed.
And Adrian. Me and Adrian.
Right, I'm going to give you one now, just a little sneak peek.
I love it.
It's not film or TV. I'm going to go quickly with music here. And I think that the Beatles are boring.
Thank you. Oh my fucking God, thank you.
But I recognise what they did for music and how talented they are. But
exactly.
I cannot listen to their music because it bores me.
Exactly. I don't like the Beatles at all. Again, I recognize their cultural significance. But it doesn't mean I have to like them. And so many people get hung up on that. So many people almost take it as a personal affront when you don't like something that they do. It used to happen all the time in high school. A good example of that being Donnie Darko. Okay? People would get chastised in my circle of friends if they deigned to say that they didn't like Donnie Darko. Because myself and a bunch of my friends, we loved it. We thought that movie was incredible. And a lot of people's go-to remarks, not mine, I've never been like this, but a lot of people's go-to remarks would be, oh, well, then you just didn't get it. No, I got it. I just didn't like it. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
there is nothing wrong with that.
A lot of people seem to think that there's this message out there that says, to those that don't fit society's mould, you learn to swim or you'll drown. Which is so incorrect.
Yes.
So incorrect.
And you're seeing this rearing its ugly head more and more and more with the toxic fandoms. And, it pops up all the time on social media. A great example of this being Star Wars, the toxic fandom that really circulated through that. You obviously, just from your snide remarks when we were discussing it, did not care for The Last Jedi, correct?
Oh, I hated it.
Okay. You, David Duncan from Synthaholics, Adrian eventually. Most people I know came down on that side. They hated The Last Jedi. I have a hard time defending it now because of The Rise of Skywalker, because it was a part of a trilogy, and the trilogy ended in, a dumpster fire. But I will always stand my ground as for why I loved it. But just because you enjoy it and someone else hates it does not mean that they're wrong, you're right, or you're wrong and they're right. It doesn't mean that friendships end or that it's shit or anything like that. It just means a difference of opinion. And we're allowed them. The problem now is when opinions get quoted to be facts. This is a whole fucking podcast. We should stop this now, otherwise we're going to go on for another several hours.
Guys, brace yourselves. There's another 4 hours to come.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you guys have a teaser for an upcoming podcast. The next episode will be the worst of 2020, starring Adrian Steve. I'm turning the reins over to him, and I'm just going along for the ride. I'm just going to sit back and let it happen to me. Just like you all are. You're going to pop your earbuds in. You're going to be like, do it to me, Adrian. He'll do it to you. He's going to do it to you. But after that, I think that all three of us need to sit down and we need to discuss unpopular opinions.
Oh, God. This is going to be a good chat.
I definitely think so, man. So, once again, you can find Andrew anywhere by looking at Bladedrummer or Andrew9595, I guess I think.
It's Andy_9898 on Instagram. On Twitter, it's Blade_drummer.
Perfect. And you can find me on Twitter at Robbie Talks a Lot. And honestly, just search for the Nerdy-Nomicon. I'm everywhere. YouTube, you can watch my videos, see my ugly mug, right over there. Subscribe, hit the like button, whatever. And if you guys are enjoying this podcast, please rate and review us on whatever platform you're finding us on, all right? We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, they're calling it now, instead of iTunes. And reviews really help us rise in the charts where more people can find us and join the pop cult, okay? So do your job as a pop cultist. Get out there and spread the word. Tell them that you've read from the Nerdy-Nomicon. All right, so until next time, that's going to do it for us. I've been Robbie.
And I've been Bladedrummer.
Let's close the book.